So in the kit is a key, standard latching mechanism, open and close buttons, a small VW badge which will go onto the back of the key, and a small lithium battery. Things you will need are a selection of small screwdrivers. I've got some glasses screwdrivers there, flathead and cross point, a small pry tool. I got this from an iPhone battery changing kit, and some sort of putty. I think bluetac would probably do, but I just got some plumber's mate lying around. First things first, when you get the set, don't know if that will focus, it comes as just a blank metal key. What you just got to do is go down to your local locksmith. So I got this cut for £4, that's not focusing. I got this cut for £4, 2 of them for £8. They should be able to do that. But what you want to do is just double check that actually that key's been cut right. Just open and close your doors. Cool, we're not putting it anywhere near the ignition at the moment. So the reason for the change is the key is the old key. It just looks a bit shit, to be honest. It looks a bit beaten up. It's got quite a lot of wobble in it, lots of dirt, lots of grime in it. Now it's working perfectly. Not got any issues with it apart from aesthetics. So that's what the new key looks like in comparison. Just looks so much sharper. And for the sake of £10, I think it's just worth doing. So first thing we've got to do is take the old key apart, and what you see here, just down the side of the key, when you flip it open, there's 2 little lines. Take your pry tool, put them in, just rotate. Other side, put it in, rotate. Keep doing this, you'll find that it starts to lever open. Go from the other side, do exactly the same thing. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Other side. Now what you'll find is that this key hasn't been open for a really long time. So actually it's probably just stuck together with loads of dirt and grease, grime. Give it a pull and yeah, you can see in there. It's absolutely horrible. So next thing you've got to do, you've got 2 components here. Put that one to one side for now. The component with the metal key on it, if we just flip that shut and turn it onto the back, you can see in there's a little screw head, a little cross point screw head. You just got to undo that. Might be a bit stiff. It takes a little bit of force. Comes out. Make sure you don't cross-head it. You can see all the shit and gunk coming out of there. Absolutely disgusting. Okay, so once you've taken that screw head out of there, flip your key open, and again there's a little line. In fact, if you just pull it apart, you can start to see there's a gap just where my nail is there. You can do exactly the same thing. Get a pry bar in, just rotate it, rotate, do the same thing on the other side, rotate, give it a bit of a squeeze, pull it apart. Alright, so this side's been a little bit stubborn, so on the basis that I know that this works, I've already done it on another key. What I've done is I've just gone and got a metal screwdriver, and it's exactly the same thing. Put it in down the sides, leave yourself away. Make yourself a nice little opening. Right, I'll be honest, that was pretty tough. Stick with it. If you need to get a screwdriver or whatever, use it. Yeah, I put quite a lot of force through there, and it's still not broken. So what's coming out of here, there's a little button that's come out of the actual key unit. There's a spring which comes out, and there's a little lump of plastic. Now these bits you can put to one side, you won't be needing them again. However, the other side of the key you will be needing, and I don't know if you can see just in there, give it a little bit of a wipe off. This is the transponder. This is what makes your car run and gives the signal to your car that your car's not being stolen by somebody. So super important, don't bin this at all. And much in the same way that we've taken the chip out to transfer the chip over, we'd have to do the same thing with the transponder. Now, this one, again, can't stress enough, you need to be super careful with. I'd recommend using plastic. It's a little glass tube. So what I do is literally just get the pry underneath and just pry it out. And you see it just pops out. And you can just give it a little bit of a wipe down. Try not to touch it too much if you can help it. Again, just leave that to one side so we know exactly where that is. So on the other side, again, you've just got a nice little line where the two halves get together. Get your thumbs in, give it a bit of a squeeze, it will take a little bit of force. And you come out with one side with your chip in it. Now you want to make sure you're not touching that with your hands as much as possible. You want to keep that dry, no electrics near it, no metalwork near it even. And on the other side, you've got your battery. And you can take your battery out easily enough. Just get a flathead screwdriver, insert it under that little prong, and just pop it out. And put that over to one side. We can move those bits to one side, we don't need the battery in that half. We will, however, need this chip. So what you can see on there is there's a couple of little black clips, and those little black clips are what's holding it in. What we've got to do with them is gently just bend them over. I don't know if you can see, they've just been bent over at the top to keep the chip set in. Now you can leave it out once you've done that, but you can see here again on this bottom one, just a little bit of melted goo. We're just going to need to move out of the way. There you go. So as soon as that's moved out of the way, you should find our chip's going to move out of there. Because I feel that's going to come out, I'm going to move to the plastic tool. Okay, and again, whenever you're touching your chip, hold it just from the sides, give it a nice little wiggle, it should just pop out. Okay, this bit you can discard at this point. Your chip set, you want to put somewhere safe, ideally somewhere non-conductive. You can leave it on the plastic if you want. I'm just going to leave mine like that, just to one side. It's time to take the new key. We're basically going to rinse and repeat here. So we can take that screw out the top. You've got a nice new black screw. Let's take that out. Put it to one side. We're going to need obviously all of these bits so don't lose them. Flip your key out. And again, we've got that nice little gap. Plastic pry tool, get it into there. Open yourself up, give yourself a bit of a wibble, and it'll come out. It'll come out into two halves like that. Perfect. So we'll put the side with the metal bit over to one side for now with our screw. And our other side, again, we're just going to have to open up. So this is the button side. Just going to have to open up in exactly the same way we opened up the other side, the other key, the original. And just a little bit of force pops it open. Battery side, chip side. At this point, my advice is take your chip, and again, we're holding it from the sides. We're never holding it from the actual metalwork, never touch the metalwork. And you can see on here, there's two little pins that correspond to the two little pinholes on your chipset. So you want to try and line them up. Use your little pry tool. Make it as easy as you can. Doesn't go in first time, no worries. Take it out and go again. One pin. Now what I found with these, that these pins don't actually sit perfectly. I don't know if you can see under there. That pin doesn't quite sit perfectly. But if you just push into that corner with your plastic pry tool, just a little bit of force, and you pop the chip out. Now usually with a little bit of force, you can just edge your chip over. There you go. And you just hear that little click. Press it down so it's seated. So that at that point won't go anywhere. Nicely seated. In the kit, as I mentioned, there's a battery anyway. So you can use your old one if you want. I'm just going to use a new one for the sake of it. I'm using these stupid bits of packaging. Get that out of there. Your battery goes in there, positive side down, so that's the side with the logo on, down, put it in, just clip it into place, and the rest there like that. Okay, so at this point we can actually put this side back together, and it goes back together in exactly the same way it came apart. Just clip it on, line the edges up, clip. Right, and technically at this point you can do a little bit of a test. If you press the unlock button or the lock button, the little LED light comes on. And if you're actually near your car, you can go and check whether it unlocks and unlocks. Obviously you're not going to be able to start at the moment, but you can lock and unlock. Alright, and that's a bit of an acid tester whether you've done this bit right. So then we need to move on to our actual key side with the transponder. And you're going to take this apart in exactly the same way you took the old one apart. Should be a lot easier. Just peel those two sides apart. And when you do, sometimes this spring has a tendency to fly out. Take this, put it to one side. You can take your spring out and your little metal button. You can take them out, just put them down there. So this is the bit that you'll need that putty that we were talking about earlier. Let's put these over to one side. And the reason you need that putty is our transponder needs to sit in that little gap there. And in these replacement keys, there's nothing to actually hold it in. In the originals, there's a little clip, if you can find it. The originals is a little clip that it sits in. In the replacement, there's nothing. And if you don't put any putty or anything in here, what you find is that it just falls out. So take your putty, I've got a little bit just on the lid here. Take a small amount, literally, you know, a pea-sized amount. Sounds like giving you toothpaste advice. Make a small pea-sized amount, and what you're going to do is roll that into a little sausage, a little pill shape. And you're just going to squeeze that into that slot. I've done that a little bit messily, doesn't matter, you can clear this stuff out. It isn't going to affect anything negatively anyway, it doesn't make any difference, it's purely aesthetics. And you just want to get that right down into that crack. Perfect. It's important to use something that's stable. You know, you want to be using, you don't really want to glue this in case you ever need to take it out. And you don't want to use anything that's obviously acidic, corrosive, anything like that. And take your transponder. I don't think it makes any difference which way around you put it, but both of mine I've done with the little clear bit at the front. And just press that into place. And press it down. You can use that little bit at the back, use your pry tool just to smooth it out. Wrap it around a little bit. Okay, and you see now, transponder's in place. It's not going anywhere. Right, at that point, we've got to put our key back on, the actual metalwork. And you see on the spring there's a little tiny lug on one side. And you see on this base there's a little slot that goes into. So you let that slot into there. You see there it's not going to turn, it's not going to fall out. You then take your key, the actual metal bit, and you can see here there's one slot at the top and then two slots at the bottom. And you can see on your button there's three little slots that correspond to that. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is line yourself up so your button's facing down and you've got your one slot lined up with your one pin. Drop it in, should just dangle through like that. Should be able to just push it up and down. Okay, right, important bit now. Take your spring, you're going to put your spring into the hole in the key. And to make sure that this is going to go out the right way, you press it down so your button's coming through. You don't want your button flopping out like that. You want your button popping through. You're going to rotate it to the right, anti-clockwise. One time, two times. Right, it's a little bit tricky. You've got to keep a little bit of force in it. Then slot it into place, hold it with one hand, get your other half with your transponder in it, and just slot that into place. And you should hear a little click when that goes in. Don't know if you heard that, there was a little click. You can do a little bit of a test at that point, check that's working. Be warned though, if you let go of this, it might spring apart because you haven't got your screw back in it. Turn it upside down, find your screw hole, find your screw, screw yourself back in. So now, that's not going anywhere. Make sure you're nice and tight, don't strip your thread. It's not going anywhere. You can see why we've got to put that putty in, because there's actually just a little gap. That's where the transponder's sitting at the moment. So if you didn't have that putty in there, it would potentially just fall out. Let's clean that up a little bit. So, pretty much ready to go at this point. Take your bottom half with the chip set in, line it up, so your buttons on the top left and your buttons facing forward, and click it forward. And at that point, time for testing. Again, you can double check, unlock, red light comes on, lock, red light comes on, buttons flopping out properly, time to go and test. So, moment of truth. Ignition's come on, which is a good sign. Excuse the fact I'm out of fuel. That's nothing to do with the key. But you can see, engine started. Take it for a run around the block, but I could do, everything's working perfectly. Finishing touches on. So, works. Done a test run on it. Now what we've got to do is make it look pretty. So in the kit it comes with a little VW badge. Presumably it comes with whatever manufacturer you've chosen, but obviously for me it's a VW. It's just a little sticky back badge, which I haven't got any nails for, but I have fortunately got a screwdriver for. Take the sticky back off. Make sure you align yourself at this point, so turn it over, top of the keys that way. And we want to make sure our VW badge is lining up with it. Slot it into the little pre-cut slot. The key will often pop out just because you're putting a little bit of pressure on. Give it a little rub down. There we go. Job's a good one. So what we've gone from is having a shitty old beaten up key, which has been used for 100,000 miles, to having a lovely, fresh, VW branded, nice looking key that actually works. Total kit cost was, I think, including the key cutting, 10 quid a key. I think it's a really nice little upgrade to do. Let me know in the comments, let me know your thoughts, let me know if you've got any questions, and yeah, good luck.